Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another very, very special Out of the Fast Lane. I am your host, Brady Hauser, and on today's show, there's no really exclamation needed. We have former NASCAR commentator Alan Bestwick on the show, and he's on already. He's on right now, so let's get this thing going. Hello.
There you are.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show. Means a lot.
Sure. Pleasure. How you doing?
Pretty good. What have you been doing over the past couple years since you've moved on from the racing world?
A little bit of everything. I work in some basketball, some football, some tennis. I have some business interests I look after. Just little bits and pieces of everything, and it adds up to be plenty to keep me really busy.
Mm-hmm. So I'm 15, and what were you when you were at my age? What were you hoping to be at? What were you hoping to be when you grew up? Was it always reporting?
It was always to be a broadcaster. Yeah, from the time I can remember, Brady, I was fascinated by the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was fascinated by things like watching the Indianapolis 500 on TV
Mm-hmm.
and watching Wide World of Sports, which was I'm sure a show you might be familiar with from history books,
Mm-hmm.
but that was the big deal when I was 15. And just radio. AM radio was a big deal back then, and you could listen to stations from all over America at night. And I was one of those guys that had the radio and would sit there at night and listen to all these different people. Where I grew up in Rhode Island, you could pull in North Carolina basketball
Mm-hmm.
out of Charlotte and listen to Woody Durham. You could pull in St. Louis Blues hockey out of St. Louis and listen to Dan Kelly. You could pull in the Tigers on WJR out of Detroit and listen to Ernie Harwell. So just that was always a thing for me, radio and being a sportscaster, and it's been a fun ride.
Mm-hmm. So how did you first get introduced into racing?
Racing came from my dad. My dad and some of his buddies had a second division race car.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, my phone is sitting on top of my computer and it's sitting on top of a key. They had a second division race car at the local quarter-mile racetrack, and they kept it in the garage in our house. So when I was, that was when I was 6 years old, 6 or 7, till I was about 10 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We had a race car in the garage
Mm-hmm.
of my house, and I used to go out and hang around while my dad worked on it at night after work, and we would go to the races on Saturday night and watch my dad's car. And then after he got out, I was still a race fan, so we'd go to the races here and there, and
Mm-hmm.
short track racing's always been a fun thing, and still is, and it's what I grew up with, was going to the locals track on a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. So for you as a commentator, you've done numerous interviews. Which one has been your favorite interview, and why has it been so special to you?
Well, that's easy. I got the chance to interview the President of the United States twice.
Oh.
So both were at Daytona, at the racetrack, but it doesn't get much better.
Mm-hmm.
All politics aside, it doesn't get much better than the opportunity to interview the head of state, the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It was both President Bush's, 41 and 43, and I have pictures of both of them on the wall of my office.
Mm-hmm. Who's been your funniest interview, and why would be that?
Funniest interview. Interviewing Darrell Waltrip one time, and I don't even think that was an interview. I think we were just standing there talking. He started talking about a television show that I did with his brother Michael and Ken Schrader and Johnny Benson, and he called it the Bozo Show. Bozo the Clown was a big thing when I was a kid, and all the kids watched Bozo the Clown, and Darrell called it the Bozo Show, and I just broke broke in half laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was funny. All we did was get on the TV and clown around, so it was kind of appropriate. But that was fun. You know, there's too many to pick out one. I very much believe that people can't have fun watching TV
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have fun making TV. And so I have a lot of fun and I laugh on TV, and because I don't know how you'd enjoy watching it if I'm not having a good time.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite track from when you were in the NASCAR and IndyCar world? What was your favorite track to watch and commentate at?
Favorite track to watch? It was hard to beat Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
Because the broadcast booth, the view you have, the racing you saw,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's hard to beat the Indianapolis 500. You really, the broadcast booth back then, you couldn't see much out of. But just the atmosphere of working there and how special the Speedway was and the event was. So those two were certainly tops. But, you know, they're all special in their own way. You know, I loved going to Darlington.
Mm-hmm.
And watching drivers try and drive that silly, crazy track as fast as they could, and how much went into it. I loved going to, you know, new places, like when we went to Fontana, California for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
or Texas. Silly places like Evergreen, Washington, which is outside of Seattle by about an hour and some. When the Truck Series used to race there, they used to. It was a fairgrounds track, and they used to use the barns that were for the cattle displays during the fair as the garage area for the Truck Series.
Wow.
And you know, yeah, I mean, just different things like that. They're all fun and they're all special in some way.
Mm-hmm. So you've done many races. People know you from almost all around the world. Who are some of the people that you have gotten to work with?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I've been part of great teams over many years. If you go back to the MRN years, Barney Hall, Eli Gold, and Dick Brooks, former driver, was just such a character. Jim Phillips, Winston Kelly, let's see, Joe Moore, Mike Bagley. I could, list 100 of them. Dave Moody, Fred Armstrong. We had just a great team of people. Got to work with Dave Despain. Television side, Ken Squire. Certainly somebody I looked up to. I got to share a booth with Buddy Baker and Dick Berggren and Benny Parsons and Wally Dallenbach and Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie, and big broadcasts with people like Tony Stewart. I can recall Jamie McMurray jumping in with us a few times. You name it. Dale Earnhardt did a show with him. Just all kinds of great people. Good people, fun people, and really privileged to have spent time with them on this crazy journey.
So, in the TV world, when you're on TV and stuff, and you're commentating, how do you handle races that have a really bad crash? For example, in 2013, you called the last lap of the Xfinity race when Kyle Larson flew up to the Kench fence, and you've also called the tragic passing of Dalen Weldon. How do you, what goes through your mind when you're in, especially on TV?
Well, there's a few things. Look, racing's a dangerous sport, and I don't think anybody goes to the golf course on Sunday to cover the final round of a PGA Tour tournament and expects to have to potentially deliver news that someone's passed away. And fortunately, we haven't had to do that for an awful long time in the top levels of racing, and I certainly hope it stays that way. But it's something you have to prepare for. You have to understand the circumstances you're in. You have to understand the process and the protocol that's involved on the part of the officials and what they have to do and go through before they can confirm to you. You have to understand that somebody's mom, or somebody's brother or sister, or somebody's child might be watching and hanging on your every word. And everybody on the team has a role in that in television. When we used to have our production meetings before, Daytona, Indianapolis, I mean, you name it. I always used to talk to people about what I would call the disaster drill, and what's your role in it, and are you prepared for your role? it's a very serious thing, and you have to be journalistically appropriate,
Mm-hmm.
but personally respectful of everybody in their part in that scenario, and it's hard. There's no question the hardest thing I've ever had to do in the course of my career are some of those moments.
Mm-hmm. So back to the NASCAR world. Do you still follow NASCAR to this day?
Oh yeah, very much. I obviously have a ton of friends that work in the business, and both on the television side and the competition side. I stay in touch with a lot of people, and let me see here. You might be even be able to see this where I am today. It's not related to NASCAR in any way, but can you see what's across my shoulder there?
Is that Daytona? Is that? Oh, that's Charlotte.
No, that's Daytona.
Oh, that is Daytona.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you're down in Daytona.
My dad lives here in Daytona, so I'm in town to do some things with him, and I'm staying at the hotel right across from the Speedway, and it's like a second home to me to be here.
Mm-hmm. Well, during this time, it's pretty much a ghost town. When you feel it, like at this time of the year, the racing at Daytona, it's only like once or twice a weekend, and that's it. But during like the 500 weekend, then it's like it all comes together. That city's booming. So I come from the Northeast, where we're known for dirt racing. Did you ever like follow dirt racing, or did you ever have to call any dirt races?
Oh yeah. I mean, my theory, race fans are race fans. I never got this whole thing about if you like NASCAR, you can't, follow IndyCar, or if you like IndyCar, it's wrong to follow a NASCAR, or if you're a fan of Cup racing, then you don't pay attention to the dirt tracks. I think that's a bunch of garbage. I think if you're a race fan, you're a race fan. So, I watched the Formula One race Sunday, and then the later in the day the Texas stuff and the drag racing, and I watched the IndyCar races Friday and Saturday night. And when I have the chance and schedule permits, I can be found at a local short track. If there's a Wednesday night race or something that's going on nearby where I am. So, you follow everything, I think, if you're a race fan.
Mm-hmm. So, during the pandemic, everybody's had their issues, and there's been struggles and stuff. And through that, with NASCAR being that they had to close down, iRacing pretty much sparked. Did you get to watch that, or even get to try it at all?
I didn't try it, but I did actually jump in and announce one of the races that Landon Castle had put together, and it was a lot of fun. I've messed around with a lot of the sims for a number of years and enjoy it. I think it's a great way to engage people. But my son works in the video game business. Mm-hmm. It's a great way to engage people in the sport. Your ability to participate at a place where otherwise you might not be able to. What are the chances you're going to get the chance in your life to drive an actual race car at Daytona? Well, they're pretty slim for most of us.
Well,
but you can from your room there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think it's the same appeal with things like Madden. For football people, it's your chance to participate in the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that was funny how you mentioned that. Landon Castle, matter of fact, that's how I pretty much got started. I always really wanted to connect with the fans through something. And when the pandemic hit, I was bored and all that stuff. So I talked to my parents, and I got that all figured out. And needless to say, Landon Castle was streaming one night on, I don't know, one of the streaming sites. And I joined it, and I was talking with him a little bit, and matter of fact, he was my first ever interview, so that's actually pretty cool that you mentioned that. And then, this past February, I got to ride with NASCAR driver Stuart Friesen at Daytona because they did the fan experiences. So I actually, like you said, some people don't get the opportunity to do that, so I understand with the iRacing world, but that's just pretty cool that you mentioned those type of things.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's, the sport offers you a lot of access that a lot of other sports don't. And it's great. You got to do that. And it's something you'll remember your whole life.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think NASCAR has been doing since they've came back with the COVID-19, being that they were the first sport to open back up to like allowing sports? How did you like that?
Tremendous amount of work went into that. I don't think you can overstate all the T's that needed to be crossed and the I's that needed to be dotted to um, make that a reality and keep everyone safe. Um, it was important to everyone in the racing industry to get back to work, like it is in every industry. And NASCAR had the unique ability to do that, and they've done a tremendous job. I think they've also taken advantage of the opportunity to experiment some, try some things. They just announced earlier today that they're going to go with the same format for the rest of the season, no practice, no qualifying. I think that's brilliant. I think it's great. Saves teams a lot of money, and it certainly hasn't hurt the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So all praise to them for all of the people who had to work so hard to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. So I know you've called many races in your career. Which one's been the most memorable for you?
The most memorable? I don't know that I have one that's most memorable because there are a lot of them that are really special. The 1990 Daytona 500 stands out. It was one of my first races with MRN, and with Dale Earnhardt losing the tire on the last lap, leading the race literally right in front of me, was shocking, stunning, surprising. Still to this day stands out. 2001 July at Daytona obviously was a big deal. That's the one I get asked about the most when Junior came back to win the first race back at Daytona after his dad lost his life here. I think about the Tony Stewart Carl Edwards championship fight at Homestead as being epic and classic. I think about the 2004, the first race of the Chase format that they had when that season finale at Homestead with Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson and how bananas it was. Alan Kulwicki, Davey Allison, Ernie Irvin, who am I leaving out? The 1992 championship race. Bill Elliott was the one at Atlanta. Just remarkable day. So there's been a lot over the years. Too many. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count all of them.
Mm-hmm. This is my final question for you. What kind of advice would you give me, or for someone like myself who was considering this career path to like get to the next level? Because, well, for starts, like I said, I started doing the YouTube channel with Lana Castle, and then I started jumping to the dirt neck of the woods, and I interviewed Gary Tompkins, if that name becomes familiar to you, and Mike, one of the guys at Dirt Track Digest, if you've heard of that. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Dirt Track Digest, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking to getting you a part of our team as an intern. And I accepted it, and I've been doing a whole bunch of experiences, writing stories, and doing a whole bunch of stuff. What advice would you give to me to get to the next step?
I'd give you a few different pieces of advice. First of all, it's all about reps, repetitions. Getting better at your craft can't be done if you don't work at it. So the more interviews you do, the more stories you write, then go back and read yourself and watch yourself, and not necessarily to beat yourself up, but to understand what you could do better. And people that you look up to, whose styles, begin to notice it with a more critical eye. Connecting with people, super important. And you have to keep doing that because opportunities do come generally to who people know. And being in that pipeline is invaluable. Being willing to do the hard jobs. I was not home on Thanksgiving or 4th of July or some years Christmas very often for a number of years, but somebody had to work those days, and I'm sure I created some opportunities for myself by being willing to do that. And then the other part is have a good attitude.
Mm-hmm.
none of this stuff is about you. None of this stuff is about me. It's about the person watching this
Mm-hmm.
or listening to this.
Yeah.
It's about the audience, and it has to always be about them and not about you.
Mm-hmm.
And those would be some of my key things. And the last one and the most important one: dare to dream. Those dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but they can. They can,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm living proof.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much today for being on the show. You got any questions for me?
Yeah, tell me, where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
Well, my dream, like you said, my dream is to one day get to call Daytona 500, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and possibly the Super Bowl if I ever got the chance to make it to like Fox or ESPN or something like that. To get the chance to do that, it would just to be one of my dreams.
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
sure. Brothers and sisters?
I have a sister, and
Yeah.
she is what does she do? She works at Beechnut right now as a Beechnut baby food company for health screening, all that.
Yeah.
She wants to go into, oh shoot, I don't even know what she wants. She's never home because she's always
okay.
working. Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
Favorite local racetrack?
Local racetrack is Fonda Speedway. That's got a lot of history behind it. Richard Petty, Tony Stewart, they've all raced there before, at least once, especially back in the 60s. They used to race there weekly. So that's pretty cool to have that. And that's local, and NASCAR driver Stuart Friesen actually races here weekly because he's got a modified up here in the Northeast. So it's pretty cool.
Yep, no, I'm familiar. What's the farthest racetrack you've been to a race at from your home?
Daytona.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You had a good time?
Yeah, Daytona. I go to the Daytona. Me and my dad go to the Daytona 500 with my grandpa every year. I got to experience Ryan Newman's crash this past February. I actually was fortunate enough to take a picture with him 2 days before the 500. I've been to a lot of them. I was there when Jimmy Johnson won, when Junior won, and there was like the tornado warning, and everybody pretty much left, and there was like nobody in the crowd late there. But we stayed around, got to watch Junior win. I've been through many NASCAR races. I've been to Watkins Glen for a couple Xfinity races and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to get to experience the NASCAR world plus the dirt local area and get to know the drivers really well in this local area. Because then one day, like I said, my dream is to one day be able to get to know Kyle Busch and Junior and Allgaier and all these big name drivers that everybody loves.
There you go. Well, keep dreaming and keep working at it, and good luck to you.
Well, thank you so very much. It's been truly an honor to get to interview you. Thank you so much. I looking forward to meet you eventually. Hopefully, one of these days, we'll definitely. Hopefully, I'll get to meet you. It's just a matter of when, because right now it's crazy times. But thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Be safe.
Yep. All right. Wow. Well, that was a dream. That's one of the dreams come true. That was NASCAR commentator Alan Bestwick. Thank you guys so much for the support. This is what gets opportunities like this, where I get to do things like this and meet people. And fortunate enough, I got to become friends with a couple NASCAR drivers who fortunately knew Alan. And I ended up me and Alan ended up becoming friends on Facebook and all that stuff. And I was fortunate enough to get to know him a little bit before, and then that's when I asked him if he'd come on my show. So, Alan, if you are watching this, thanks again so much for coming on the show. Thank you guys so much for your support. It means a lot to me. I hope everybody's having a good time right now. It's tough times. If you want to catch me on iRacing, I've been doing a little bit of that. It's under my dad's name, which is Eric Hauser, but it's still me racing. I have YouTube, which is you're going to be watching this on. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I got Facebook, I got Twitter, I got all that. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. This means really a lot to me. And by the way, there's Scott Huber and Stuart Friesen, by the way, if you guys didn't know. They're two NASCAR, Stuart Friesen, and local driver Scott Huber. give them a shout out. But thank you guys again for watching. It means a lot. And you guys have a good night.